Hello and welcome. This is Paul Sandhu. So today I want to do a quick video on the book of Revelation. It's been a while. I started doing this maybe a month ago or something about the seals, judgment, and the events that are going to follow. And I was into Revelation chapter 7. And today I just wanted to begin in Revelation 8 with the coming trumpet judgments. And rather than go through all of them at this moment in time, today I just want to focus on the differences between the seals and the trumpets. Okay, there is some very, very big differences between them, which prove to us that these events, first of all, do not occur simultaneously. And secondly, because there is such a difference in magnitude, it reveals to us that these trumpets are going to follow the seals. So essentially, if the events of the seals have not yet transpired, then we can rest assured that the events of the trumpets are not even anywhere close to us at the moment. Interestingly enough, as we have done in many videos, when in regards to the first seal, this is Revelation chapter 6, in verses 1 and 2. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. As myself and some other people have concluded, that the event that is going on in the world, this pandemic, that is called the coronavirus, because that's where the name comes from. Coronavirus is named after a crown, because apparently this virus allegedly looks like a crown. So it is called literally a crown virus. So because this is the first worldwide event, since literally the Tower of Babel at the very least, and even going back to the days of Noah, that we have a record of, then I would conclude that this is the opening of the first seal. And when he went forth conquering and to conquer, what is happening is events have been set in motion which are destroying the economies of the world, and essentially people are being conquered economically. In the old days, when there used to be only two classes of people, one were the landlords, one were the lords and barons, and essentially they were lords and barons because they owned land. This is just another one of those interesting, nuggets of history that most people are not aware of, especially in the United States. Before the 1960s, or in the early parts of the century, the only people that were allowed to vote were the owners of land. And the only people that were considered to be wealthy all throughout history pretty much is those that owned land. That's where the word landlord comes from, okay? But in the 1960s, I believe under the Johnson administration after Kennedy, these new definitions were introduced. 60s onwards, the world has literally changed a lot, and it is essentially because the mindset of people has been changed, okay? And one of the definitions that was introduced was something called the poverty line. Before then, if you owned land, you were rich, considered to be, wealthy. And if you didn't, you were poor. That's it. Okay? So since this poverty line came in, which is based upon a person's income, etc., it is something that is very arbitrary. Okay? So it really doesn't have any significance because anybody can set a number. Or $13,000 a year is the poverty line. Meanwhile, a person making $50,000 could be under the poverty, could be in poverty. Okay, so that is the definitions changing about what people's minds, as to what wealth means, what riches mean, and this is also biblically true that God always gave people land. Okay, like the promised land. So in this life, in this earth, it is the ownership of land that really is equated with wealth, even like biblically speaking. But all that has been changed in the past 60 years or so. Our world is topsy-turvy, upside down, everything, right is wrong, wrong is right, all that. So that was just a little bit of a, different, a digression on my part here, but it is absolutely true. Today I'm reading here 36,000 people are being laid off by United Airlines, right, left, and center. The banks are going to lay off people. Pretty soon, like half the people in the USA and worldwide, they are going to be out of work. And in these countries like the US, Canada, etc., the government will play, they will play a game of giving people some money or whatever, keeping them essentially at least in a little bit of food, okay, so that they don't go rioting in the streets. But that'll come as well, because many of these jobs, half of these jobs or more, they're not going to come back. The world has been conquered, and it is now, the life as we knew it is finished. So this was the purpose of the first seal. It was to bring about economic destruction. Okay. So this is again something which most people may not have considered, but that is what I believe to be the significance of the first seal. Okay, now what I want to bring out from these seals is the first one, and then the second one, as we've talked about a lot as well, I have talked about a lot, is that signifies chaos, it signifies anarchy, it signifies the breakdown of the social order, it signifies like warfare. It's internally within countries, civil war it's called, and between nations, okay? Wars between nations. So all that I believe is coming, and perhaps coming sooner than we expect. And we've already seen like a trailer about what happened in the past month or so with these riots due to the killing of this person in Minneapolis and such things. And I believe those are just previews. The real problems lie ahead. The real, what you might term a zombie apocalypse, lies in the destiny of this world. It's coming. But what's significant about these things here that we're reading as far as the seals are concerned is that these are basically man-made event. That the agent of these destructions that are going to come, and that'll include famines. Famines are being orchestrated even here where I am in Ontario. They keep finding people that are working farms. Everywhere, people that work in Walmart, they never get COVID, okay? But the people that are working on the farms, they suddenly, all of them are testing positive, and the government is rushing around. They're threatening that they're going to shut down all these farms. So, all this produce and all this food that's grown there, not just meat plants, it has happened in the meat packing plants as well. But the biggest meat packing plant in Canada was shut down. It's reopened now, but it was shut down for a while. Today I went to Costco to buy chicken for the restaurant, and they had put a limit on it. This has never happened before. Never. You could go in there and buy 1,000 kilos of chicken. If they had it, they would sell it to you. But now they said, okay, there's a limit. You can buy only 3 boxes, which is like 75 kilos, and that's it. Okay. So that I've never seen before. The price of beef, etc., has gone up. So this is again being orchestrated by events that a man is in control of, okay? They are trying to shut down the supply chains, the meat processing plants, even like farm workers are not being allowed into the country. Like in the US, you need a lot of Mexican and Central American workers, as we do here in Canada. That's been a real problem, not having enough workers. Keep reading that fruits have to be destroyed because there are not enough workers to pick it. So all these things, again, what is the agent that is in control of these events? It's man. Okay? And when we get to the time of the trumpets, you notice that man is not the one that is going to be front and center at the time of those judgments. So in the second seal, we read, when he opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And this word sword means war. One of its meanings is war. So what it is prophesying here is a great war, World War III, let's say. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So this again is the coming food shortages, the hyperinflation in the cost of food. And if you think that the food cost has not already gone up, you are mistaken. There's like thousands of articles you can read, and you can just go down to your local store and you will see that the price of food is definitely on the rise. And then the fourth seal, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And as I told you, this food shortages, they are also being done by design. Who's being used? Man. So these seals, judgments, they are very much God is using man, okay, to bring about these judgments on the world. So in the ultimate, the responsibility that will be at the feet of man, that man did these things in this stage where like a quarter or more of the earth's population is going to die off. And I believe possibly even within the next 5-10 years. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. So have you seen glimpses of hell coming to earth? I would say just very, very, brief, very glimpses in the distance, okay? Like in the life of Elijah, when he saw that big storm coming, he saw like a cloud, like a man's hand. And then Elijah said, run, because the storm is coming. And before they knew it, it was upon them. So right now, we can only get a distant glimpse of all these things that are developing, but they will be here much faster than most people would care to believe in this time when it's summer here and everything is beautiful. Everybody's just out and about trying to have a good time. But those good times, I believe, are in the past for at least until the return of our Lord Jesus Christ. Good times are done and over with. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword. And one of the meanings, like I said, of the sword, of course, is war. It means anarchy, chaos, people turning upon each other, violence, all these things. With hunger, this is hunger, food shortages. With death, and with the beasts of the earth. And with the beasts of the earth, there is again a meaning, which is like, for example, there's been a plague of locusts like we haven't seen probably never. It has been in Africa, in Asia, even in South America. So these are beasts, like, insects are very prominent in the Bible, like at the time of the judgments of Egypt, for example. But also, like you can read that in Joel, that he'll send the locust, the caterpillar. And the other day, this really hit me because I was outside and, had put an umbrella. I had leaned it against a tree when it was windy, so I just took it off and put it against a tree. And a couple of days later, I went to get it and opened this patio umbrella up, and it was crawling. It was full of caterpillars. I mean, I've never seen so many caterpillars in my life. There must have been like a couple hundred of them there inside this umbrella. I mean, it was so bad I just had to throw it away. Okay, so that's again, like these are the simple things that can wreak havoc upon this world, leading to the deaths of untold millions. So beasts of the earth, okay? It won't be just ferocious beasts, which of course, as hunger grows and food shortages arise, famines come, there's droughts, etc. Animals come looking for food. And, there comes a time when man starts looking pretty good for dinner. And I think those things are going to happen where pestilences, which are caused by pests, are going to destroy many, many people. Anyway, so as we continue through the seals, up to the first 4 seals, which is the beginning of sorrows, this is a time when the events are in the control of man. This is the elites. People say elites are doing this, they're doing that. Yes, God is using them to do all these things, okay? and they will work their evil, and once they have finished what they have been appointed to do, God will send them off into perdition. That's it, okay? But after the fourth seal, I believe there's a transition that into the fifth, sixth, seventh seal, and into the time of the trumpets and onwards, these events are no longer in the control of man. Okay? God's judgment comes in at least three stages. One is God's anger, one is his fury, and one is his fierce wrath. So right now, this is the time of God's anger. And God's anger, it is visible because of what has happened to our world. It has literally been destroyed right in front of our eyes. But yet, God is holding his hand, okay? We are having this time of respite where, we are not like this judgment hasn't just befallen the world and people are not just literally dying by the millions at the moment. Because God is still giving man some time to change and repent. But do we see any change in repentance? No. No. People are still under this illusion that everything is going to be fine because they believe the lying leaders of this world who get up on TV and every time they open their mouth, all that comes out is lies, lies, and more lies, okay? And because they have put their faith in man, God is used to use those very same men, meaning men and women, and any other thing in between, to bring his judgment upon an unrepentant and evil race, which is the race of man. All right, so let's jump ahead. Let's go past Revelation 7, which I've already talked about, into Revelation chapter 8, where we will begin to see when the trumpet judgments begin. So like I said, I'm not going through the specific judgments that will happen. For one thing, they're not here yet. They won't be here for a few more years, okay, at the very earliest. Therefore, it is not something that I can say with certainty that this is exactly how it'll go down. We'll have a better idea when we get closer to the time. But what I just want you to see the transition is that from the seals into the trumpets, we are going to transition from the time of God's anger to the time of God's fury. Okay? It is going to intensify. The judgment is going to be greater in magnitude and its ferocity that the destruction that is going to bring about. But again, God is a merciful God. For the Lord is good and his mercy endureth forever. In Revelation chapter 8, even in very first verse, what do we read? And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels, which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. So after the sixth seal judgment and after the marking of the people of God, and this is actually a very good time for me to just get into a topic which I've again spoken about a lot, which is the mark of the beast. Okay? You will not need to worry about the mark of the beast if you have the mark of God. Okay? Instead of talking always about the mark of the beast, you should worry more about the mark of God. Let me show you in Jerusalem what happened. Okay, when the judgment of Jerusalem came, and this very much parallels, if you read like Jeremiah and Ezekiel in particular, you will understand that the events that took place at that time, they very much parallel what is happening in our world today. Okay, now I want to show you about the mark of God. Okay, that if we have the mark of God, then none of us have to worry about the mark of the beast. And that is what we need to strive towards with all our being, is that we are marked with the mark of God. Okay, let's talk about the mark of God. Let's not worry about the mark of the beast. In Ezekiel chapter 9, after I showed you in chapter 8 what these people were doing, they had even filled the temple of God itself with idolatrous images and statues, and they were worshiping the sun right in the temple of God. Okay, and of course, sacrificing their children and doing all sorts of abominable things which a man should not even mention. He cried also in mine ears, in chapter 9, verse 1. He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. Okay, so God appoints armies to bring his judgment. Like he said to the Assyrian when they came and took Israel away captive, he said, O king of Assyria, I have appointed you. I have given you the power to be able to do this. And because you thought that it was you that was doing it, and you did not give me the glory, I'm going to now judge you. But God had used him to bring his judgment upon the evil nation of Israel at that time. And so today, God has appointed people like, Billy Goats, Gates, whatever, and such, and all the other leaders of this world to bring judgment upon the people that have wholly given themselves over to idolatry and turned themselves away from God. They have turned the back to him and not the face. They don't humble themselves under the mighty hand of him who made them, who gives them their breath, who gives them the rain that produces the food that they eat. And instead of, giving him thanks, they participate in every manner of abomination and evil under the sun. Okay, continuing in verse 2. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with the writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub whereupon he was to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem. Listen to this here. Listen to what happens before judgment comes. Verse 4, Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Are you one of these people that are crying and sighing for all the evil that is happening in this world today? Are you in your city, in your nation? Are you one of them that is vexing your soul before God and praying the prayer of the prophet Daniel in chapter 9, confessing your sin and the sins of the people all around you, interceding, humbling yourself before God? If you are, you will be marked with the mark of God. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in mine hearing, Go you after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Did Peter not write, the Apostle Peter, that judgment begins at the house of God? Okay, so it is going to begin first with us. That is why Jesus said that, they are going to come after you. They are going to persecute you, and they are going to kill you. All right, but if you are marked with the mark of God, then you are going to be safe. What is going to be safe is your soul. They will not be able to touch that, even though they may kill your body. All right, so the mark of God is what we all need. And we get that mark because we understand the evil and the wickedness of this time here, and we vex our souls before God. Okay, that's what we do. So that's what I wanted to point out to you here about the difference between the mark of the beast and the mark of God. So again, we can look here, and when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. This is in Revelation 8, chapter 8, verse 1. So this silence in half an hour is again a pause. This, I believe, is again God exercising his mercy, giving the world time to change and repent. And when that does not happen, we move to the next level of judgment, which is God's fury. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. Now you'll notice the difference in the judgment of the seals. What went riding is horses. Horses are like animals, okay? They are like terrestrial animals. So essentially, again, like those judgments were earth based, they were not like heaven based. These are going to be now, from the trumpet onwards, it is all going to be heaven based. These are not in the control of man in any way, shape, or form, no matter how much they may want you to believe that they are the ones that are doing it. No, this is God that is doing it. It is His angels that are appointed to bring these judgments onto this earth. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints. So again, like when you are vexing your soul, you are like crying out to God. That is your prayer, it is going up. And what is going to happen with these prayers now? It is not going to stop the judgments. Yes, the judgments will not be stopped, but rather we hope that they will be hastened so we can get through this time. We can get to the other side where the return of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, who alone can bring peace to this evil and wicked world. And now let's look at these trumpet judgments, okay? And the angel took the censer and filled it with the fire of the altar and cast it into the earth, and there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. So as we saw in Revelation chapter 6, in the 6th seal, there was a great earthquake. And now that signaled the end of the judgments of the seals as far as the earth is concerned. And then now the beginning of the trumpets, the judgments will begin again with another earthquake. The book of Revelation mentions several earthquakes, okay? And this is again God giving a very plain signal that this is the earthquake comes, that the trumpets are going to start. The 7th angels and the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. Again, like I'm telling you, that these are heavenly judgments. These do not originate on earth. They're not done through the agency of man. These are all, you could say, supernatural. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And people will try and tell you, oh, this is man, this is weather modification. No, when these judgments come, they are going to be of a magnitude. Look at the magnitude. The third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. There is no technology that man has that can burn a third of the trees on this earth or all of the grass on the earth. Only God can do that. The second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain, burning with fire, was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. Again, man does not have any technology that can make that to happen. They can give you lie all day long that the oceans are dying and this is happening and that is happening. Absolutely not true. Man cannot destroy the oceans. The size of these oceans is so huge that there is no possible way that man with all his pollution can ever destroy them, okay? But God can, and He will. And the second angel sounded, and yes, I don't deny that there may be pollution, especially on coastal areas. But you go out like 3, 4, 5 miles out into the sea, and it's gone. There will be no pollution. They show you, oh, there's this, sea of plastic the size of Rhode Island. These are all fictions. They are lies. Have you gone out there to actually see it? No, don't you believe these lies about this kind of, global warming and environmental problems and all that? Yes, there are going to be environmental problems, but they are going to come from up above, not from a man pressing a button here. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire were cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. And again, you can see the magnitude in the seal judgments. Fourth part of the earth they were given power over, and people were killed. But now these are happening in thirds. Okay, so again, the scale is much greater. This is the time of God's fury, and wait till you get to the time of His great wrath, from which we will be kept. That is His promise. But He's not promised us to keep us from the time of His anger and His fury. Yes, He'll allow us to go through it. Either we will come out alive or we won't. at least in the body, I mean, okay? But either way, you hang on to your faith and you don't deny him, and you are going to be sitting with him forever and ever. And the third angel sounded, and the third part of the creatures, the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. Man cannot do this. God can and God will. Then verse 10, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven. Where did it fall from? Star from heaven. Who made it to fall? Who sounded? Angel. Okay? The angel sounded, and the star fell from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, upon the fountains of waters. Now you tell me, what technology does man have that he can poison a third part of all the rivers on the earth and the fresh waters and lakes? Man does not have any such technologies. Man lies through his teeth. Man tells you, oh, we got big nuclear weapons, we can destroy the earth. No, you cannot. All the bombs in the world would not be able to destroy a country like the United States. Not even one country could be destroyed by all the bombs in the world. Okay? Yes, there would be much destruction. Many people would die, but the whole country would not be destroyed. It would not sink into the sea. Those things would not happen. These are all lies that we are told. Every waking moment of our life, we are surrounded by lies. Nuclear weapons do not exist. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, which means they became toxic. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter, which means they were made toxic. And again, no. Man can, poison like a little lake or a pond somewhere, yes. But to do it all across the earth, a third part of it, you have any idea how much fresh water is this on this earth? I live in Canada. You would not be able to poison a third of the fresh water in Ontario alone, which is the province that I live in. Never mind all of Canada or all of North America. Impossible. Man does not have these technologies. They just want you to believe that they do. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten. Oh yeah, Bill Gates is trying to block out the sun. Yeah, right. No, it is the angel that sounds, and it is God that controls the sun, that it gets smitten. And the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven. Who? An angel flying through the midst of heaven. Is that a man that's doing this? No. So these are not human judgments. These do not originate from man. They are not controlled by man. They originate from heaven. They are executed through the agency of angels, and they are done at the command of God. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels, which are yet to sound. And again, when we get into the next three trumpets, the supernatural nature of what is coming, this world is going to literally turn into a sci-fi world. As I told you, at the sixth seal, the heaven is going to depart as a scroll. The veil that separates the spirit world from the natural world is going to begin to split. And the interaction between the spirit and the natural world is going to become very, very normal as it once was, perhaps in the days of Noah. All right? And I beheld and heard an angel flying to the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by the reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels, which are yet to sound. So again, these judgments, my friends, they're not here at our door today. They are close, but they're not imminent. What's imminent is the second seal, the red horse riding, which is warfare, chaos, anarchy, zombification, killing, looting, okay? That is the violence filling the earth like it once did in the days of Noah. That sort of world is at the doorstep. But beyond that, these trumpets, they are still a few years away yet, and we will be able to better understand how exactly these things are going to happen when we are closer to the time, if we are still alive at that time, which most of us who are listening to the sound of my voice today will not be. And thank God for that. Thank God for that, because we don't want to hang around in this wicked world even a moment longer than we have to. So I'm going to end this here today, then I'll pick it up in Revelation chapter 9 in the next part of this Revelation series. Thank you, and God bless you all as you study to show yourself approved unto God, as you vex your soul before God and you pray before Him, and you ask for forgiveness for yourself, for your families, for your kinsfolk, for your people, for even for your nation and the world, and pray that God is going to now not put a stop to this. He is going to continue it because it must happen. It must come to the end. This process that has begun must be continued to its conclusion so that we can see the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. We can lift up our heads because our redemption draws near, and we can be thankful that God, who promised these things in His holy word 2,000 years ago and more, is now fulfilling them in our time. What a spectacular time to be living in. Thank you. This is Paul Sandhu.
O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love Him, and to them that keep His commandments, we have sinned and have committed iniquity, and have done wickedly, and have rebelled, even by departing from Thy precepts and from Thy judgments. Neither have we hearkened unto Thy servants the prophets, which spake in Thy name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto Thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day. To the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither Thou hast driven them, because of their trespass, that they have trespassed against Thee. O Lord, to us belongeth confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against Thee. To the Lord our God belong mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against Him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God, to walk in His laws, which He set before us by His servants the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed Thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey Thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us. And the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against Him. And He hath confirmed His words, which He spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayer before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities, and understand Thy truth. Therefore hath the Lord watched upon the evil, and brought it upon us. For the Lord our God is righteous in all His works which He doeth, for we obeyed not His voice. And now, O Lord our God, that hast brought Thy people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and hast gotten Thee renown as at this day, we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Lord, according to all Thy righteousness, I beseech Thee, let Thine anger and Thy fury be turned away from Thy city Jerusalem, Thy holy mountain. Because for our sins, and for the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and Thy people are become a reproach to all that are about us. Now, therefore, O our God, hear the prayer of Thy servant and his supplications, and cause Thy face to shine upon Thy sanctuary that is desolate for the Lord's sake. O my God, incline Thine ear and hear. Open Thine eyes, and behold our desolations, and the city which is called by Thy name. For we do not present our supplications before Thee for our righteousness, but for Thy great mercies. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hearken and do. Defer not for Thine own sake, O my God. For Thy city and Thy people are called by Thy name.
And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company, and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel, as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes. The first voice I saw was high, and the Father